Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Checking in on the market, so we've got bullish continuation for CRON and CGC and continued lackluster performance for ACB and APHA. We've talked about in the past how if we were to pair off the major names in the sector, CRON and CGC would be in one section as far as correlations to each other, and ACB and APHA would be in the other. And in my opinion, that is due to the major funding received by CRON and CGC. ACB and APHA have not received that. So it has to do probably with institutional interest and a whole lot more than that. But just as general rule of thumb, group those two with those pairings, and it makes things a little bit easier to stay organized. So CGC broke 46 resistance. That's a great sign for the bulls. We're looking for our weekly higher low to form compared to 39.66. At this point, it's looking pretty convincing that the bulls are going to form it now, but keep in mind, we have to confirm the daily trend change. This move is coming off of the low, and we must see a higher low and higher high to confirm that that weekly higher low has been set. At this point, we've got resistance of 46.97, and then 47.51 would be the next level after that. We had healthy hourly consolidation in the afternoon on declining bear volume. We have two scenarios tomorrow. Bulls fail to break 46.97 and break 45.64, which means daily consolidation to form a higher low is likely underway, or to try and form a higher low is likely underway. Scenario 2 is bulls hold 45.64 and break 46.97 for continuation of this uptrend. Just keep in mind we're a little bit extended in the sense that since Monday, we've now gone 9%, and that is a pretty decent sized move for someone the size of CGC. CRON on the daily time frame also getting followed through, breaking all short-term resistances, increase in bull volume, really liking the increase in odds that our monthly higher low has been established at this point. So what we need to be real sure of that is a weekly trend change. Anything under 1767 is just a weekly lower high. So we're not changing this weekly trend anytime soon, but in the next few weeks, if we change this weekly trend, I have a target of the lower 20s for my swing trading position. And at this point, I'm going to be walking up my stop levels a bit using 1445 at this point. And it's the same scenario as CGC. We have our low of consolidation of 1608 at the end of the day. The question is, can the bulls break 1655 tomorrow morning and look for continuation, where we would look then for 17 psychological as the next resistance? Or do we break 1608 support and look for the potential to need to form another daily higher low? Bulls have a lot of space to work with to hold the daily uptrend of 1445, which is why I'm comfortable moving my stop from 1390 up to that level. So really liking the follow through. No news. How quickly does that sentiment shift? We have gotten some news in CGC and some other names, but nothing massive. And CRON doesn't have any notable news that I'm aware of. And CRON, since Monday's low, has now gone 14.5%. That shows you how quick the sector sentiment can turn like that as soon as we get that go signal, which was a daily trend change, a spike in bull volume, and monthly exponential support. ACB, so still struggling a bit. We tried to make it back to the high of yesterday. We rejected by 2 pennies and then closed weak yet again. So we're still watching this range with the bulls still not proving it to us. We have the higher low. The must-hold support is 844. Our lower high is now 879. And if we break 844, we're looking at 8 psychological. And if we break 879, we're looking at 905. So watching to see how long we stay in this tight range. And if you look across the market, we have a ton of individual names, SPY, Amazon. Lots of names are forming this little tightening range on the daily chart as volume across the markets drop off while we're in this tightening daily range. APHA, bears continue to shine. Anything under 713 was just a lower high. We formed a lower high at 708, and then we closed at the low of the day today. 661 and 662 is the only support in sight as our double bottom. And if we break those levels, we're then looking at another leg down with the next support of 624. So the question is, can the bulls change the daily trend or shift momentum by getting over 708 and 713? Or are the bears going to keep control and look for the break of 661? TLRY, big bull day today, but couldn't keep those gains, and it sold off at the end of the day. It was on par with CGC and Cron, but look at the hourly. There's that hourly consolidation similar to CGC and Cron. End of the day dump on bear volume, notably different than those two names. So now we have our high, and we're looking for an hourly higher low to be established compared to the low of today, and we've pulled back enough that we would look for an hourly equilibrium setup in that scenario because of the size of that pullback. And of course, we're still in a daily downtrend. Anything under 50.48 was just a daily lower high. Let's see if this move fades, and that 48.08 is our new daily high level. If we lose the hourly uptrend, we'll call that our new lower high, but we have to wait and see how the hourly trend plays out from here. OGI sell-off continues ever since the uplisting, run up into news, into a known event that is, and then a sell the news, sell the known event reaction to the actual uplisting. Time to start looking for the daily higher low to form. I'm watching $10 psychological. If we get to hourly oversold, then we would look for the hourly oversold bounce to indicate our daily higher low being established. But to get to hourly oversold, we would have to drop down into the 980s or so. And I would personally be looking around the $10 range. We may not get to hourly oversold. With the way this is set up and the way the daily chart looks, I would not be surprised to see a bounce in the low hourly 30 RSI level. But it's worth watching for the daily higher low because we're coming off of the all-time highs, and we've already seen a significant amount of profit taking the last 2 days. So we're going to be looking for that shift in the short term. And then that bounce, we're just going to look for a daily lower high. Unless the bulls can turn around and see a 13% bounce, which is unlikely, we'll look for a bounce to set a daily lower high and see a tightening range form on the daily chart from there. Hexo is the same pattern as SPY, tightening 5-day range, low, high, higher, low. Looks like our lower high is set at 709. So 709 to 665 is the key range. Break 665 and 654 is next. Break 709 and 740 would be next. Bulls have to change the daily trend, and right now it's just a daily equilibrium. TRST, bulls tried to hold the low of yesterday, which they did, and we saw some follow through, but sell off at the end of the day. Big upper wick, watching for an hourly equilibrium here as well. Low of the day, high of the day. Bulls formed a higher low at the end of the day. If the bulls show up tomorrow and we can't break 817, we're going to look for an hourly lower high compared to 817. And the bulls are trying to negate this weekly bear flag, but they have a lot of work to do for that to be the case. I would need to see a bull move pretty much over $9 to negate this weekly bear flag, which is currently shaping up. And anything under 867 would just be a daily lower high. So bulls still have work to do on TRST. VFF top watch tomorrow, absolutely. This is a daily bull flag. What's the difference today compared to every other day? Close. Upper wick, profit taking, close at the low of the day, low of the day, low of the day, close at the high of the day. It's still a daily inside bar in a tightening range, but that is the start of a shift in momentum. We had a bit of a Kramer pump yesterday after hours that threw things off a bit. But if the bulls can get a bull break tomorrow of 1370 and 1387 to see follow through of at least a couple levels, I mean, the ideal scenario is the bulls tomorrow show up in a big way and break 1438 and see volume of more than 2.5 million shares traded. That would be a very convincing bull flag being confirmed. But one step at a time. Break 1370 and 1387, and that's the start of shifting the momentum into continuation with 13 psychological as the clear short-term daily support level to be watching. T-God, we had it happen again. End of the day, 3 p.m. Eastern rolls around, bull spike on volume. Yesterday was the exact same thing. Nobody knows what's going on as to why this is occurring, but you better believe that now that it's happened twice, this is how the psychology of the market works. It's happened twice, it's now a pattern. People are going to look for this pattern tomorrow, and they're going to enter at 245. So we're likely going to see the spike tomorrow happen a bit earlier, and if the spike does not happen at 3 p.m., we're going to see the opposite scenario, and we're going to see a dump. Why would we see a dump? Because people that bought in anticipating the spike, that do not see the spike, then bail on their position. So just be aware, again, I have no idea why this is happening, but this is the kind of setup where I would be very cautious of trying to anticipate a third day in a row of a clear bull move and bull volume pouring in at 3 p.m. Eastern. So it's a nice uptrend for the bulls. The hourly higher low is established at 410, and we did get a follow through over 423. The daily chart is creating some nice space for the bulls. We're keeping in mind that we're not going to change this weekly trend unless we break 463. So this is an inverse head and shoulders setup Again, looking out far in advance, but a left shoulder. Here's our head to a lower low. If we cannot break 463 and we top out and we have to form a higher low from there, we would then look for that potential setup to try and change this trend on the longer term time frame. So again, caution tomorrow at the end of the day. I would be surprised if it works 3 days in a row, essentially. And I would expect to top out and form a lower high compared to 463. Losing the hourly uptrend is the indication that our daily lower high has been established. VGW is giving us the equilibrium. High, low, lower high, and now we're scouting the higher low compared to 371. Hourly oversold conditions, if we get there, is when we're going to start looking for the potential entry based off of that support. We would need another little leg down. It would probably be in the low $4 range that hourly RSI would be getting oversold, and I expect to stay within this tightening range for at least another week. We still need to find that higher low, but bulls have a lot of space to work with, and I anticipate they will be able to form that higher low. Labs, we had an inability to break out. So the all-time high is 739. We got up to 735 and then closed at the low of the day. That's a bit of a red flag. Inability to see continuation. From here, if we break 684, that tells us daily consolidation is needed. It's very healthy consolidation. The bulls made their move and they rejected. They essentially failed. They didn't have enough momentum. The bears were stronger. Let's now see if the bears can follow through with a break of 684 support. If the bulls hold 684, they're just fine. But if we break 684, we're looking down at 670 and a gap fill at 662. Oils, equilibrium as well, but we're watching that head and shoulders. So high, low, lower high, 55 cents must hold. The hourly RSI is getting oversold. So it will be oversold when we test 55. So it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to, dump big when we break 55, but it would lose the daily uptrend, and we would certainly anticipate that when we bounce from there, a lower high compared to 72 cents would be the most likely scenario. So key 55 support on watch tomorrow. End bulls, equilibrium on the daily, real tight. What stood out? The volume spike. Volume yesterday was 830,000. Volume today was 6.5 million. How long did it take for the bulls to break the volume of yesterday, 830,000? And the answer is it took about 15 minutes. 15 minutes, and we had 600 plus. Okay, so maybe it took about 18 minutes. But you get the idea. That volume was the signal, and the bull break was the signal as well of the price action. So the first key resistance was 74. To confirm follow through, it was 76. To confirm more follow through, it was 80. To confirm more, it was 84. We took out every single resistance level on the move up in the 15-minute bull move. That is the ideal way to break an equilibrium. It leaves no doubt for any kind of fake out. If you get volume and you break all of the equilibrium levels in one go, that's as convincing a break of a tight range as you can ask for. So resistance is now 89, 90, and $1. As far as support goes, we did establish hourly support at 82. Fail 89 and break 82, daily consolidation is likely coming. Break 89 and this move still has momentum. Curaleaf is still very weak. We broke 1274 weekly support and it's just dropping down day after day. And I have no interest in it personally. If we get to daily oversold, I'll be interested. But just short-term bounces, weekly time frame is losing the uptrend. We're watching now for the potential of monthly consolidation to take place. There will be bounces on the way down. Let's see if the bulls can hold exponential support, which we're on right now on the weekly chart. Any bounce that we see on the daily, we're just going to be looking for a lower high to form compared to the $15 level of where we're coming from. And the red flags, where we saw weakness when the sector was strong back in mid-May, have certainly followed through. So my focus is on other names. There are daily oversold USMJ plays, which I would rather be playing if I'm playing any USMJ names. And I did enter IAN today, pretty much right at the open. So that position is perhaps down a couple pennies, but this is my scale-in strategy. So I have entered one of a potential 3 positions. I am not going to add to that position unless we see significant weakness. And by significant weakness, I mean another 2 to 3% down day tomorrow. If we don't get that, I'm not adding. I want to make sure I'm spacing out my adds so I'm not running out of ammo too soon. So we have an hourly lower high, the high of today, 567, just an hourly lower high. And if we drop down and break 543 tomorrow, the pullback will continue. After 543, the next support level that we're looking at is down at 530 would be the next level. So I'm being very patient. I probably won't add unless we break 530 tomorrow. And then I would add. But that hourly bounce cooled off RSI levels. I want to be adding when we have daily, 4-hour, hourly RSIs all oversold. And that's not the case with that weak little bounce. So I'd be patient. I remain patient. And I wait for another leg down if I'm going to add anything. And if I don't get to add anything and we do get a bit of a bounce, I'll scale out and take some profit, and that'll be that. So being very patient on that play. C-Web, this is a weak bounce. We're just looking for a weekly bear flag. The bulls are going to have to make their move up to fill the gap of 22.92 if we're going to try and negate this weekly bear flag. But it's just a weak bounce. It's sort of just fading higher with no real conviction from the bulls in volume nor daily candlesticks. Resistance is 21.68 and 21.45. Support is 20.56 and 19.90. So we'll see if we set a daily lower high and see if this is a weekly bear flag. TRUL, solid bounce, but we are getting a little toppy. Anything under 1810 was just a lower high. We double topped at 1733 and 1725. Higher low every day, 6 days in a row. If tomorrow we break 1676, we're pulling back and we have to form a higher low compared to 1455. Remembering we're not changing this daily trend until we see a higher low and a higher high. So watching for a higher low to enter, and this is the kind of trade where if I was looking for an entry, which I'm not, but if I were, I would look for an entry, perhaps in the upper 15s, upper to mid 15s, use 1455 as the stop, and hope that the bulls can change that daily trend and see a clear shift in momentum. But I am not interested in that trade. It's not my ideal setup. And the reason it's not my ideal setup is the weekly chart is not in an uptrend. If the weekly chart is in an uptrend and I'm looking for a daily trend change to give us the weekly higher low, I'm absolutely interested in that trade. But that's not the case. GTII is similar to IAN. Daily is oversold. This is the most oversold the daily RSI has ever gotten. Every other time it's bounced right at this 30 level, and it's just dipping below it right now. Support is down at 15 psychological as the next level. 4-hour RSI oversold, hourly oversold. So if we were to get a leg down tomorrow, that would be the kind of scenario with all those time frames lining up oversold where I begin to scale in to an oversold bounce play. That being said, we're looking for a monthly higher low. We have a monthly equilibrium setup as a lot of other MJ names have, but there's a lot of space before that monthly higher low or that last monthly level. So worth watching for an oversold bounce, but keep in mind that any bounce on the daily time frame, we're just looking for a lower high. Anything under 1779 is just a lower high. So again, I got to go back to what I did with Cron. The monthly chart had me interested in a Cron oversold bounce. The daily chart and the weekly chart were junk when I made my entry. It was the long-term pattern and the long-term uptrend that had me interested. I then exited partial position into profit to allow me to drop my stop loss level even lower and have a break-even trade. If I'm looking for monthly higher lows to form, that's the way to do it in my opinion, because it eliminates a lot of risk by taking partial profit. If I'm entering a position and only entering one position and hoping I nail it, the odds that I'm going to nail it are really low, and the odds that that position will be back to red in no time are pretty high. So just be aware that, have a time frame of what your trade is. Are you looking to hold for months or years? If you are, scaling into weakness when we're still in monthly uptrends in these names is definitely not too bad an idea. If we were in monthly downtrends in any of these names, it would probably be a bad idea, but the long-term patterns are either monthly equilibriums, looking for higher lows, or monthly uptrends. So, knowing that's the case, if we are bullish the sector as a whole, I would much rather, I've said it many times, but I would much rather be establishing positions in daily oversold conditions as opposed to blue sky breakout all-time highs, if I'm talking long-term positions. CL bulls are trying to get some more follow-through here. What I'm looking at is 14.16, the all-time high, the low of the pullback, and we're going to look for a lower high somewhere compared to 1837, but we've really just kind of gone sideways the last few days. If the bulls can break 1626, that's a good sign, because if this is our top right now, the bears absolutely have a lot of favor. So the bulls have to try and get that favor back the range here from this level, from our high to the higher low, is about $3.60. So that means 180 is a midway point, which means 1657 is the midway point, which we haven't gotten to yet. So the bulls want one more leg up to try and get to the midway point of this tightening range. If we don't get to that midway point, the bears have favor because we're closer to breaking support than we are to breaking resistance. That's all I got. I don't have any end of the day content here. We'll do some praying mantis stuff tomorrow. So today you have homework to, I don't know, establish a game plan and write it down in paper in front of you if you're not already doing that. That's all I got. Not creative today. I'll leave you with the GOAT.